All right, now it's time for Shadows Follow. So without any hesitation, I will now press play. Has that, that jug, 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 jug. It's that galloping and like that machine gun snare. And it's just building, 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 boom. And it eases into the groove. Okay, so it's we're continuing with the theme that Hetfield had from the title track, 72 Seasons. So Shut My Eyes just to hide from the fate. Again, it's like something he is destined for and trying to run away from this, but obviously this is the shadow. And if he is referring to what I think he might be referring to, if not, I'll still I'll go into Jung's shadow in a little bit, or at least the theory behind it in a little bit. Okay, so demonized, liquefied, tranquilized. Liquefied, tranquilized, that's obviously substance use. And as far as demonized, demonized means to like portray someone as evil. So portrayed as evil, if we're going into the first 18 years, it could very well mean what went on in the home, which could lead to the liquefying and tranquilizing. If you're told you're a demon, or if you're told that you're evil, you will believe that you are, especially growing up. It's our minds are so impressionable growing up. So as a way to cope with those thoughts, you drink, you numb, liquefied, tranquilized. And again, prophesized just to hide from life. Again, fated, just like in 72 Seasons. It's all destined. This is the same thing. Prophesized just to hide from life. Night and day, led astray in decay. Come what may, not to face that fight. And night and day, led astray in decay. Just rotting away, probably due to the behaviors to try to cope with all the thoughts and possibly actions. A way to try to mitigate feelings of, mitigate regret, guilt, and come what may, not to face that fight. So could be the fight to try to get better, or to fight, maybe in a helpful way to cope with those thoughts. So as one goes on and breathes, the nightmares keep getting worse, and no matter where you go, that shadow is going to be with you. So you can't, there's that saying, wherever you go, there you are. You can't escape yourself because you're always there. And what do people do sometimes to try to get away from themselves? Again, turn to the behaviors. In Hetfield's case, it's substance use. And there's that repeating theme again. First, it's a repeating theme. It's no matter where he goes, it's going to hunt me. The beast is hungry, like a wolf on a hunt, makes me think of Wolf and Man from the Black Album. Closing in, it won't let me be. So this is, again, the shadow. If we're looking in the Jung's analysis of the shadow, it's the parts of ourselves that we don't want to admit that are there. So if that's the case, even if it isn't, there is something that he doesn't want to be after him. He's calling himself a prey. And again, going back to this is destined. So I'm so curious if within the first 72 seasons, the first 18 years of his life, was he told that this is your destiny, that you are going to be chased by these demons for the rest of your life, and no matter what you try to do, you're gonna get caught. I'd be so curious to find that out from Hetfield. And then it goes back to, the pre-chorus and then into the chorus. Great harmonies by Hetfield. It's going to get into the breakdown. Nice Metallica breakdown. Oh, wait, maybe not yet. Probably soon. And then just on a word on Hetfield's voice, it's still strong. I find it like his voice has been through a lot of changes since Kill 'Em All. So during Kill 'Em All, even like pre-Kill 'Em All, he almost sounded like Rob Halford. It was very high, like that. And then when he did Kill 'Em All, it started to get like really raspy and like screaming, like the way a child would scream, like during Hit the Lights, it would get really high up there. And then throughout, Ride the Lightning, it got a little lower, but it was still that high-pitched gruffness to it. So through Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, it was kind of the same. Again, just that scream that's there. Around, and then Garage Days was the same thing. And then the first Garage Days. Then around Justice, it started to get a little lower. You started to get the yeah in there. And then in the Black Album, if you listen to his voice today compared to the Black Album's voice was higher. But we started to get into that Hetfield, yeah. But still, the scream was there. And then like around, I think he blew out his voice around this time. And I think I noticed the difference, especially when I saw them in 94. Hetfield started to use a singing voice more than the growl. And his singing voice is still good. He just used that more. And then, throughout Load and Reload, he still had that, that yeah to him. And then throughout, Garage Inc. and all that. And then with Saint Anger, it's just the sound was so different. Just the way that his voice was recorded was just so raw. So it was that rawness and the breaking in his voice that they purposely, wanted that album to be like. And then, you get up to, they didn't record until Death Magnetic. And with Death Magnetic, it was that combination of, his natural singing voice, but still with that growl. And then I found with Hardwired, it was a very strong singing voice, especially like a song like Halo on Fire. But then the title track, there was that growl to it. And then to bring it back around to 72 Seasons, he has a singing voice, but there's like a strain to his voice. There's much more of a graveliness and a strain to it. Again, it's still good. It's just different, and that's how his voice changes and evolves. But again, still very strong, and one of my favorite singers. Just for that emotion, there are plenty of singers who have a better technical singing voice than him. But I think what makes Hetfield's voice so special, at least to me, is the emotion and the power behind that. And then you combine it with what I think are incredible and just powerful lyrics. It makes that incredible formula that is Metallica to this day. Obviously, I love the album, and he really sounded good live, just different than what he did in 1991 and 1989. It's just with that kind of voice, I would imagine it's such a workout on your vocal cords with the nothing I know about singing. So there you go. Oh, here's the breakdown. Yep, and so going back to his voice, shut my eyes, like that, instead of like, shut my eyes, yeah. But still, just, it's obviously Hetfield. Such a, what I feel is unique voice in music that's been copied a lot, but still. And then not to mention just the emotion behind the voice. His lyrics could be, he could be singing Mary Had a Little Lamb, but if he puts that emotion into it, that's what makes Metallica so special. It's the emotion behind his voice. So cut and run, hide away from fate. Again, here we go back to fate. And cover up, try to hide the hate. So it could be hatred towards himself, which people with substance abuse issues, there could be a self-hatred there, and, trying to cover those thoughts of self-hatred or try to numb those thoughts of self-hatred with alcohol. And it's so interesting. Thoughts are such amazing things. We can't, they have no physical presence. We can't see them, but they're so powerful, and they can bring us down, and they can lift us up. So try to hide from the hate, either hatred of himself or hatred of others. I would imagine it's hatred of himself. And like a wolf, it won't let me be. So again, it's that shadow, and that voice is there. That was the voice in Sad But True. You listen to Sad But True, it is that inner critic to where the narrator of the song ends up, dying, I believe, at the end because of those thoughts. Now, what someone can be, like through therapy, what someone can be taught to do is try not to hate those thoughts, even though they're saying terrible things. Even though you are saying terrible things about you, you're still you. So if you approach those thoughts of, please shut up, please leave me alone, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, you're saying that to yourself. So one way to reframe those terrible thoughts of hatred towards yourself is approaching that with compassion, because you are approaching yourself with compassion. So it's looking at it and going, what are these intrusive, ruminating, terrible thoughts? How are they serving me? What are they trying to tell me? And typically those thoughts are used as a distraction from trying to feel your emotions. So whether it's rage, anger, sadness, those thoughts are there to distract you. So if you look at it as, okay, these are terrible thoughts, but they're doing a great job of distracting me because the mind doesn't want you to feel those emotions. It views those as danger. So it's like, well, let's have these thoughts based on life experiences, the way that we've been spoken to. We tend to internalize them. So if people have spoken to us in a hateful manner, especially those who have raised us, spoken to us in a hateful manner and criticized us and lecture us, children tend to internalize those things and then turn those thoughts into their own. So one way to do it is you could figure out the origin of those thoughts and where they're coming from, and then realize what they're distracting you from. So let's say in my example, you have a parent telling a child hateful things. The child tells themselves hateful things. One thing that you can do with a therapist is talk about the emotions that you're holding in, and it could very well be the hatred of the parent that's telling you hateful things. And in our society, I think it's getting a little better, but it's considered, taboo to have this hatred toward your parents. It's like, well, how can you say that? Your mother, your father did their best, and you shouldn't hate them. What's wrong with you? How can you dare be angry at them, what they've done for you? So therefore, what do? You hold it in. So what's the space that therapy provides is that, yeah, you can express the hatred towards your parents. You can express your anger, your sadness towards them based on how they were raised, which is tough to do because, again, if you're told your whole life not to do something, it's sometimes hard to go, well, I hate my parents. At least I hate this specific action that they did. Doesn't mean you hate your parents. You could, but it could also mean that you still love your parents and just hate this action that they did. And you can hold space for both love and hate for anyone. It's called a dialectic. You can have two conflicting emotions all happening at the same time. It is very fascinating. It's probably one of the things that fascinates me most about human beings, about ourselves. So in therapy, you were taught to identify and explore and hopefully feel those emotions, because when you feel those emotions, those thoughts that Hetfield is so brilliantly writing about tend to dissipate. And if you do get those intrusive thoughts, you start to realize where they're coming from. You start to realize there are where they're coming from, they become less powerful, and you can go on with your life because the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are going to be helpful as opposed to hurtful. Some harmonies with the guitar, that twin attack from Hetfield and Hammett. And back to the that's how I describe it. And he said, wish it away, wishing the thoughts away. And unfortunately, wishing the thoughts away usually doesn't help. It's accepting the thoughts that could do it. Because the more you try and yell at yourself and wish those thoughts away, they can become stronger. It'd be nice if you can just go away, thoughts, and they would go away. It'd be a lot easier to deal with them. It's like I'm automatically headbanging. You just can't help it. And then it goes back to the pre-chorus. Now, it's like Hetfield was listening to me because he knew I would, in the future, when he wrote these lyrics, be analyzing them. But he has the answer at the end of the lyrics. It's interesting we're in Sad But True. It's, hey, I'm your life. I'm the one who took you there. Hey, I'm your life, and I no longer care, which could just either mean death for the subject of the song or just a lifetime of misery or more misery. What Hetfield puts in this song as a sign of hope. It's facing his demons. Now I know. And I remember it was the So What interview with him, which if you're a fan of Hetfield or any of the guys on Metallica, Ulrich didn't do the 72 Seasons interview, but Trujillo, Hammond, and Hetfield did. Hetfield's I loved because he said something about, getting to know your demon, having your demon over for dinner. Once you know your demon, it becomes less powerful. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing it. And he puts this in the song. So facing my demons, now I know. If I run, still my shadows follow. I say no, still my shadows follow. And yes, the shadows could follow you, but a solution to that is choosing how to respond when your shadow does follow, because you're not going to get rid of the shadow, but you can certainly accept that it's there and, not have it bother you in the way that it's been bothering you in the past. One way to reframe it is, this is my shadow, and my shadow is trying to tell me something in its own weird and terribly unique way. I wish it was a little more helpful. Actually, I wish it was a lot more helpful, but in its own way, it's our mind trying to say there is danger here. We're trying to help you. This is the warning light. Go see someone to try and figure out how to, turn this warning light off. And one way is facing those demons, talking about it again in a safe space without judgment. That's what safe spaces are. They are just spaces where people don't criticize you and judge you for your thoughts, for your emotions. You are just listened to, and when you're listened to, you tend to feel better. And it's hard to do, especially in social media, or especially if you're over for a holiday dinner or any kind of way, even for people you care about, there's going to be criticism, unfortunately. So it's finding a space in therapy to just let it out without having someone criticize you. If you have a therapist who criticizes you, that would be a red flag, at least for me. Always that wah, follow, wah, little bit there. But not that guttural scream that he used to have just when he was young, but still very, very strong voice. Like the hardwired voice was from what I remember, a lot of singing in it. Like a lot of singing. It was almost like it was modulated to be like a soaring kind of voice. This is more gravelly compared to Hardwired, and Hardwired was like 2016. That's like 7 years ago. They got to release albums, more frequently. Damn it, more studio albums. So I said I would briefly. Did I say briefly? I don't even know anymore. But I said I would touch upon what the Jungian archetype of the shadow is, and maybe Hetfield singing about this. But the shadow is, the part of ourselves that are repressed. Again, things that we may not want to say just due to the social acceptance of things. So usually things about about hatred or just hatred's one of them, or anger, depending on how you're raised, who you are, things that you tend to hold in. That's the shadow. So it's looking at that part of yourself, again, in therapy, in a place where you're not judged, because I would imagine if you even went to someone you liked and said, well, I'm having these thoughts, and they're not socially acceptable thoughts, or they're shocking thoughts, it may do you more harm than good, which is, again, the importance of therapy. So it's examining that shadow part of you in a way to feel better. And the thoughts are just what they are. They are thoughts. Thoughts can't hurt anyone. Now, if someone has a thought, it's the therapist could ask the client's intention and if they have a plan to go through that thought, especially if it's a thought of hurting someone. What's the intention, and is there a plan? And then it's really discussing what to do from there. And if there is intention, and if there is plan, and the client says, well, I am going to hurt someone like right after this session, then it's believe it's law. It's a Tarasov decision. It's the therapist's duty to warn the person that's going to be hurt. And I believe the duty to warn is dependent on, in the United States, the state that you're in. And my assumption is if it's not the law of the state, it could be ethically feasible for a therapist to break confidentiality if the plan and intent is there and the client plans to hurt someone. And if you Google just Tarasov law or Tarasov case or Tarasov decision, you can read all about it. But this is a podcast about Metallica, not about the law, but it is kind of relevant if about exposing that shadow and realizing that there can be consequences for that. So, on that note, I think I'm good. I think this is it. So, if you want, feel free to contact me. What is my email address? It's mmampodcast@gmail.com. And, try to follow me on something on the socials. Cool. So everybody have a good one, and hopefully I can start releasing these a little more frequently, but I can't guarantee anything, but I'll do my best. All right. Bye.